Good afternoon, everybody. Today we'll be discussing about serotonin. We shall be looking at this topic under the following headings, that is the synthesis, storage, termination of action of serotonin. That will be the introduction to the topic. The broad area of concentration today will be on the serotonergic receptors, which I have bolded in the red. We'll also be seeing the drugs which are modulating the serotonergic transmission, a brief overview of the actions of serotonin, and a brief overview of the agonist and the antagonist on the serotonin receptors. So serotonin is otherwise called as the enteramine or the 5-hydroxytryptamine, 5-HT. It's an amine autocoid. Already you have learned what an autocoid is. The other example of an amine autocoid is histamine. It is derived from the amino acid tryptophan, and it is present in the major concentration in the enterochromaffin cells of the GIT. About 90% of it is present there. Platelets and the brain, 10% is present there in the platelets and the brain. Since the major part of it is present in the enterochromaffin cells, that is the reason why it is also called as enteramine. Other than the human body, it is also present in plants like tomato, banana, pear, and pineapple, and even the sting of insects like scorpion and wasp. When you get stung by these, you get a large amount of serotonin injected in your body. Then we'll look into the serotonergic transmission. First, we'll concentrate on the synthesis. So the transmission is similar to that we have studied for the adrenergic transmission. So here the raw material, the starting amino acid is the dietary tryptophan. Tryptophan is available in the diet, and it is converted to 5-hydroxytryptophan by the enzyme tryptophan hydroxylase, which is the rate limiting step. 5-hydroxytryptophan is converted to 5-hydroxytryptamine by D-carboxylase enzyme. It is synthesized and it is stored inside the vesicles in the nerve terminals. Whenever there's an action potential, it is released from the nerve terminal and it starts acting on its receptors. So after this action, its action has to be terminated. Termination of action can be either by metabolism or it can be by the reuptake back into the nerve terminal. So by metabolism, the enzyme involved is monoamine oxidase. So monoamine oxidase A and B are the two subtypes of this enzyme. Monoamine oxidase A is the one which is involved in the termination of action of serotonin principally. The metabolite that is formed is 5-hydroxyindole acetic acid, 5-HIAA, which is excreted in the urine. So the conditions, the pathological conditions where there is a lot of serotonin or there is a excess of serotonin, you will have this metabolite in excess amounts in the urine. Now the next one, the termination by the reuptake. Here there are two transporters which are important. That one is a SERT transporter, serotonin transporter, and the other one is the VMAT2 transporter. Serotonin transporter is present on the nerve terminal, and it is responsible for taking up the serotonin from the synapse back into the nerve terminal. You can see it here, just taken up back into the nerve terminal. And the VMAT2 transporter takes up the serotonin back into the vesicles where it gets stored. So these transporters are the sites of actions of many drugs. So many drugs can block these transporters. As a result, serotonin will not be taken up into the nerve terminal if SERT is blocked, and it will not be taken up into the vesicles if the VMAT is blocked. So you will see the blockers of these transporters later on in the slides. So you have got tryptophan. If it is increased more in diet, so obviously you will have a more increased synthesis of serotonin. A drug called PCPA, p-chlorophenylalanine, which is more of an experimental drug. It's not therapeutically used. It inhibits the synthesis of serotonin by inhibiting the rate-limiting enzyme, that is tryptophan hydroxylase. Then the three important modulators are highlighted in blue color. You can see drugs which are inhibiting the neuronal reuptake of serotonin by blocking the SERT. transporter. Examples are cocaine, SSRI, and TCA. SSRI is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and TCA, the full form is tricyclic antidepressants. Both SSRI and TCAs, they are used for depression. I have given the corresponding examples of this class of drugs in the bracket. Now, these drugs prevent the reuptake of serotonin by blocking the SERT. As a result, they will increase the serotonergic transmission, because now the serotonin is not taken up into the neurons. It will be there in the synapse and it will continue to act on the receptors. Similarly, a drug called reserpine, it inhibits the reuptake of the serotonin into the vesicles by blocking the VMAT2 transporter. Drugs like MAO-A inhibitors, example chlorgelin, it inhibits the metabolism of serotonin and thus increases the its levels. So these three are the principal modulators. There are there are receptor agonists and antagonists, which we'll be taking up next while we discuss the receptors. The receptors of serotonin are of 7 types. They are 5-HT1, 2, and so on till 5-HT7. All these receptors are of the G protein coupled receptors type, except 5-HT3, which is an ion channel linked receptor. Now we'll see about each of these receptors. We'll see them in terms of location, functions, agonist and agonist. I'm discussing only the agonists and antagonists which are therapeutically used or significant enough. Not discussing all the agonists and the antagonists. So 5-HT1, the subtypes are 5-HT1A, 1D, 1B, and 1D. So we'll see the location first. All these receptors are autoreceptors in the brain. Autoreceptors are the receptors which are present on the prejunctional nerve endings, and they inhibit the release of serotonin from the nerve endings. 5-HT1A is present in the brainstem and hippocampus. 1D is present in the basal ganglia and substantia nigra. And 5-HT1B and 1D are present on the cranial blood vessels. So what is the function? It is inhibiting the release of serotonin by acting on 5-HT1A and 5-HT1D. It on the blood vessel, it causes vasoconstriction of the cranial blood vessels. It inhibits the release of inflammatory neuropeptides from the nerve endings in the cranial blood vessels. That is 5-HT1B and 1D. Now this is very important. You have to remember this here itself. So if you have a drug which is an agonist on 5-HT1B, 1D, what will be the action or the function of that drug? That drug will cause vasoconstriction of cranial blood vessels. It will inhibit the release of inflammatory neurotransmitters from the nerve endings in the cranial blood vessels. So where will you use a drug like that? You will use it in a condition where there is a vasodilatation of the cranial blood vessels, as in the case of migraine. So if you have a drug which is an agonist on 5-HT1B or 1D, you can use it in migraine to vasoconstrict the dilated cranial blood vessels, also to inhibit the release of inflammatory neuropeptides responsible for causing migraine. And such a drug that is used in migraine is sumatriptan and triptans. You can see 5-HT1B, 1D selective agonist sumatriptan. There are other triptans also, about which you will be learning in the next topic on drug therapy for migraine. Another drug that is used for migraine for a similar reason is ergot alkaloid, which is a partial agonist on 5-HT1B, 1D. Then you have got Vispiron, which is a 5-HT1A agonist. It is used as an anti-anxiety drug, mainly because 5-HT1A is an auto receptor in the brain and has a role to play in mood, the regulation of mood, sleep, temperature, and so on. Next one is 5-HT2. The principal subtypes are 5-HT2A and 5-HT2C. 2A is present on the vascular and the visceral smooth muscles and platelets. 5-HT2C is present on the vascular endothelium. So the function of 5-HT2A is to cause vasoconstriction and the visceral smooth muscle contraction and platelet aggregation. 5-HT2C causes vasodilatation through the release of endothelium-derived relaxing factor or nitric oxide. So in a large blood vessel like the artery or the vein, where you have more of the vascular smooth muscle, the 5-HT2A will be predominant, and the action of serotonin on such a blood vessel will be vasoconstriction. In where arterioles and venules, where there is a very less component of smooth muscle, the 5-HT2C present on the vascular endothelium will be predominant, and serotonin will be acting on it to produce vasodilatation of the arterioles. The 5-HT2 antagonists, ketanserin, cyproheptadine, methotrexate, these drugs are not very popularly used. Just for completion's sake, I have written them as in the table here. 5-HT3 receptors are present on the neurons, somatic, autonomic, as well as myenteric neurons. They mainly mediate pain, itch, coronary chemoreflex. The next function is important. They augment the reverse peristalsis, that is the peristalsis in the opposite direction, which is not a favorable phenomena. It can also cause vomiting reflex by acting directly on the myenteric plexus. So whenever the 5-HT3 receptors in the gut are stimulated, it will end up in the vomiting. That is called as a peripheral stimulation of vomiting. 5-HT3 receptors are present also in the brain, that is the area postrema in the brain, and when it is stimulated there, it can cause vomiting. That is called the central stimulation of vomiting. So vomiting can be stimulated both centrally and peripherally when the 5-HT3 receptors are stimulated. So any drug or any agent which can stimulate the 5-HT3 receptors in the gut or in the brain will end up in vomiting. So similarly, a drug which will block the receptors, 5-HT3 receptors in the gut and the brain, can be used to prevent vomiting, or it can be used as an anti-emetic drug. So I'll give you one example. After chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and even after a post-operate anesthesia surgery, people end up having vomiting. That is because of the release of serotonin from the cancer cells, which are acting on the peripheral as well as the central 5-HT3 receptors and stimulating them to cause vomiting. So this drug, that is ondansetron, is a principal drug used as an antiemetic for post-op, post-chemotherapy and post-radiotherapy induced vomiting, because it can block these receptors there and prevent the vomiting. Then you have got 5-HT4 to 7 receptors. They are mainly present in the mucosa, plexuses and smooth muscles of the gut. They are also present in the brain, but the role is not really known. The function is augmentation of intestinal secretion and the normal peristalsis. So this receptor, if it is stimulated, it will cause peristalsis in the forward direction. So a drug which is an agonist, we will be using it to increase the peristalsis in conditions like gastric stasis. Where there is a stasis, we want to increase the peristalsis, so we can use this. Even in conditions like GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, where there is a reflux of the acid back into the throat. Here you want to have a forward motion of the acid so that the reflux is prevented. So you will use a prokinetic drug, that is 5-HT4 agonist, to augment the forward peristalsis. An example of such drugs are cisapride, renzapride, etc. Now we'll go to the actions of serotonin. So on the blood vessels, already I have said it is on the large arteries and veins, mainly vasoconstriction. On the small arterioles, causes vasodilatation. When it is injected into the body, that is maybe through a wasp sting or a scorpion sting, there's a sharp fall in the BP initially. Then there's a brief rise in BP followed by a prolonged fall in the BP. Now, serotonin is, however, not involved in the physiological regulation of BP. Main action of serotonin is on the gut. It increases the GIT motility by its actions on the 5-HT2, 5-HT3 and 5-HT4 receptors, which we have already discussed. It also stimulates vomiting by its actions on 5-HT3 receptors. The other actions are insignificant, that is bronchoconstriction, platelet aggregation, regulation of appetite, mood, sleep, body temperature, mediation of tingling, pricking, pain sensation. All these are also a part of the actions of 5-HT. The serotonin is also a melatonin precursor. And you already know it is present in the melatonin is present in the pineal body, and melatonin pineal body is the called as the biological clock that is maintaining the circadian rhythm. So abnormalities of serotonin levels can also result in the abnormalities in the reduction of the circadian rhythm. Serotonin also plays a role in some of the disorders like migraine, which I already told you. You'll be learning elaborately about it in the next topic. It is present in excess amount in carcinoid tumor, and also it plays a part in the post-chemotherapy, post-radiotherapy induced vomiting. And finally, we'll have a look at the agonist, antagonist, and their uses. So already we have discussed all of this. 5-HT1A agonist, buspirone, used as an anti-anxiety drug. 5-HT1B, 1D agonist, that is sumatriptan, other triptans, and ergot alkaloids used for migraine. 5-HT4 agonist, examples azapride, renzapride, used as a prokinetic drug in GERD. Antagonists, mainly the first ones, and I told you already, not very significant. The only important one here is the 5-HT3 antagonist, dansetron, granisetron, used as an antiemetic for post-op, post-chemo, post-radiotherapy induced nausea and vomiting. So you will be writing these notes in your regular pharmacology notebook, and at the end of the note, you will also answer these questions. What is the rationale of using ondansetron for post-chemotherapy, post-radiotherapy induced vomiting? What is the rationale of using renzapride for GERD? What is the rationale of using sumatriptan for migraine? These answers also should be written at the end of the notes, and I'll be asking any 3 random numbers to show me the answers in the WhatsApp group tomorrow at 9 p.m. So you should be ready with the notes as well as the answers by that time. So we'll end the class here. Thank you.